What is going on, everybody? It is me again. It's HorrorFan34, and welcome to another video, and welcome to day 9 of the 31 Days of Horror Challenge in October. Now that we are on day 9 of the challenge, I figured I'd talk about an 80s horror gem that I feel is very underrated. I mean, it's one of my personal... I guess you can kind of consider this like a monster movie, I guess, in a way, or something like that, even though it's not really like a creature. I guess you can kind of consider it like a creature movie, because it does deal with like that kind of an idea. But the title by the video, you can tell it's going to be on this. The Stuff. I mean, are you eating it, or is it eating you? Of course, this is the Arrow Video Blu-ray, which I think they did a great job on. And I love has reversible artwork and the disc, things like that. But The Stuff, a very underrated, I guess, monster movie, in a way, if you can kind of call it that, like a body horror movie. Directed by Larry Cohen, the late great Larry Cohen, may he rest in peace. I actually reviewed, surprisingly enough, one of Larry Cohen's other films before this, the first day I did the challenge, which was Q the Wake Serpent, which he did before this film. Now, I mentioned before about Larry Cohen's career. Larry Cohen, I miss the guy a lot. Really good writer and a very good director. I mean, he directed this film and Q the Winged Serpent, The Ambulance, the It's Alive movies he directed. And he also had a hand in writing films like Phone Booth and Cellular, and I think he had a hand in writing a couple of other films too. He always came up with really original ideas, like the It's Alive movies, like about a killer. Well, I guess like you can say like Rosemary's Baby kind of like thing, but this was original in my opinion. Like Q the Winged Serpent's original film. I think The Ambulance is pretty original. And even films like, you know, Cellular, Phone Booth, like, those are pretty original ideas, too, that he had a hand in writing. But this is probably my second favorite film that he's directed, behind Q the Winged Serpent. It's kind of close for this and Q the Winged Serpent, because these are, like, my top 2 favorite Larry Cohen films that he's directed. Although I do really enjoy the It's Alive movies. But this one, though, I think it's just such a very unique concept, where basically you have this, Mr. Rutherford, there's like this dessert going around known as The Stuff, which is kind of like this, like, white, frothy, like, marshmallow-looking ice cream, like, yogurt kind of, like, looking thing. And it's very popular. The company's making a lot of money off it. But the question is, are you eating it, or is it eating you? Because basically this stuff basically turns people into these like zombie-looking creatures, and they take over people's bodies and things like that. And it's like this whole investigation about Mr. Rutherford and all these other guys that help him out investigate this thing. And the company, even though the company, you know, is well aware of the stuff, they don't really care about whether it's taking over people's bodies or not, because they're making so much money off it. And that's pretty much what the entire movie is about. Now, what I love about The Stuff is like how much of an original idea it is. Like eating like a yogurt like dessert, like the greatest dessert in the world, and then it's taking over your body. And I know Larry Cohen was inspired to do this film because of like corporate greed, I guess you would say. I guess this is like a kind of like a corporate greed kind of like thing, where I know Larry Cohen was inspired by, I think, like a cigarette company and a pharmaceutical company that like sold these products that were really bad for people, but the companies didn't care because they were making so much money off them because they were so big. Kind of like the same idea with The Stuff, where even though the company knows and it's well aware that it's taking over people, they don't care about it, because if they're making money off it, then they're going to stay in business, pretty much. And I tell you what, this really does some of the best special effects. I mean, it's practical, very practical special effects, and And I really like the cast. Well, you have Michael Moriarty, who worked with Larry Cohen before on Q the Winged Serpent. You also have Garrett Morris, who was in SNL. He was in Coneheads. You also have Paul Sorvino, who was in Goodfellas, is one of the guys that he helps out. Danny Aiello has a guest starring role in this from Jacob's Ladder. May rest in peace, Danny Aiello. And I also forgot to mention, too, Larry Cohen also had a hand in writing the Maniac Cop films. Also, I almost forgot about that. But yeah, this is just... And on top of that, too, there's, like, even points where this white, frothy, like, looking thing is attacking people. In a way, kind of like a pre-version of The Blob, in a way, from the 80s. Because you figure The Blob was a few years after this movie. So, in a way, the stuff is kind of like another version of The Blob, in a way. Because, like, yeah, even though it's not really a blob creature, but this white, frothy stuff is, like, attacking people and taking over people's bodies and things like that. And it's, like, eating people's organs inside them because, you know, it's eating them alive, pretty much, inside when they eat the dessert. And I just think it's such an original idea. And I really like the cast as well. Michael Moriarty, Garrett Morris, Paul Sorvino, Danny Aiello. I think it's very well directed by Larry Cohen. I think Larry Cohen does a great job directing this. And it's just... And it's a really... I can see why Larry Cohen was inspired by, like, you know, that cigarette company and all that stuff. Because you figure, if a company sells a lot of products that's not really good for people, and as long as they're making money, then they're going to keep selling the product because it's making so much profit. And I just think this is just a really... I don't really know much more I can say about the stuff. I mean, it's got some really good death scenes. It's got some really good special effects. And I think Arrow Video did a great job on this Blu-ray. I had this on an old DVD, but I figured I'd upgrade it to Blu-ray. And it's one of my personal favorite monster movies. I love the sense of humor that it has. And on top of that, too, I'll tell you, even though this stuff is not really good for you to eat because it takes over your body, it looks pretty damn good, like, on screen, pretty much. And it kind of reminds me of, like, the marshmallow fluff that comes in that big jar. It kind of reminds me of that. Like that marshmallow fluff. But if you want to see one of the more underrated monster movies, you want to see, like, a really good, like, body horror film, kind of like a Videodrome. Like, you know, Videodrome is kind of like a body horror, but if you want to see, like, another body horror that deals with kind of like a blob-looking thing, like The Stuff, then I would highly recommend you check this out. And I would also recommend you check it out, too, if you're a big fan of Larry Cohen. But I'm pretty sure a lot of the hardcore horror fans have seen that already, though. But that's pretty much it for my review for The Stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you guys are enjoying so far this marathon. I'm sure a lot of you guys are. I've been seeing a lot of good comments and all that stuff. So I really appreciate you guys watching my stuff and during this marathon. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.